Let's get a word with Oliver Speight. Oliver is the father of the late TV presenter from Wolverhampton, Mark Speight. Mark, formerly a Blue Peter presenter, of course. He died 6 years ago tomorrow. Oliver, very good morning to you. How are you?
I'm fine, Adrian. It's nice to hear you.
Well, it's lovely to speak to you again,
yes,
Oliver.
Yes, it is. You're my favourite interviewer.
No, that's kind of it. And, you know, looking on, just the positive side, can we even say that? But yes, so much of the work that you've done in Mark's name with children in hospitals around the West Midlands is proof that out of this awful darkness, there can come light.
Yes, I think, your heart goes straight out to the Geldof family, of course, and they will be gathering themselves together, as you know, and they'll be feeding off each other in terms of support, and they'll be looking, I hope, on the happy, joyous side of her life that she gave to her family and to her friends and to the public, just as I did with Mark. The extraordinary thing is, in actual fact, the date of the 9th was the date he died, but it was actually yesterday when he disappeared and took his own life, 6 years exactly to the death of Peaches. And of course, that is a poignancy for me. And when your good lady rang me, I was quite moved. It brings it all back in that sense of, as you rightly say, of loss. And you think, first of all, what could I have done at the time? The answer is you can't do anything, because at that moment it was their time.
Yes.
Oliver, was that positive. Sorry, yes.
I was going to say, I lost my nephew at the age of 21. Obviously, yes, I'm his uncle. It's not quite the same as being a parent, I don't think. But, nevertheless, that horrible sense of loss. With my nephew, who had a brain tumour from the age of 15, although we had hopes and, believed that he might get well at some point, by the end, we knew it was coming. The difference between that and the case of your son Mark, the case of Peaches Geldof, is that it just suddenly comes out of the blue. Nobody's expecting it.
No, you see, the thing that came straight back to me when I heard of the sad loss of Peaches was that doorbell ringing, and the 3 policemen, and this young policeman with tears in his eyes had said, "We found him." And I said, "Have you?" And he said, "Yes." And I looked at this man. He was desperate, this young man. And I said, "Come here." I said, "What a thing to tell a father." And I gave him a hug, because I felt more for him the compassion that I did for myself. And it was as if Mark was saying to me, "Hey, come on, let's move forward here. Let's look at it." And I started to smile, and I started to remember a lunch night I had with Mark 12 months before, that suddenly he was telling me his life and what he was doing, and I smiled. I said, "You're telling me absolute bullshit." He said, "How do you know?" And I said, "Well, when you spend as much of it around in life as I have, you recognize when it's coming at you." And it was the humor of that scenario that drove me. 25,000 emails, 95,000 hits on YouTube, excuse me. And the energy was still there, and the grief of the children, you could not ignore that. As the Geldof will find, it's that they drive you.
Yes.
Say, look, this has got to be positive, and we've got to give back now.
Well, it's very interesting. Tony talked about setting up a charity. Tony and Hansworth talking about a charity in honour of his daughter, who died just at the age of 23. His daughter Ashley. And I know that you've set up Speight of the Art, and you do work with Heartlands Hospital and a number of other local schools around the West Midlands. Is that some relief? The sense that you are giving something back in Mark's name.
It is. It isn't so much the relief. It's as if he's given me a direction in which to take my life that I never knew. This was my karma. This is what I was intended, and it was his passing. He passed me a baton and said, "Listen, you get on with it. I can't do it anymore now." And I've been driven, as you say, we've been nationwide, 12,500 children. We are absolutely locked into bringing a brighter future to Birmingham's best, its children. We're talking to the Royal Ballet. We're talking to industry. And I've had the good fortune to be in partnership with the NHS Heartlands Trust, HEFT, and we're going not only to HEFT this year, but Good Hope, Solihull, residential homes, taking kids to make them understand that something in life. There's always somebody worse off than you. This is what's come out of it for me. There's always somebody worse off than you, Oliver. It's about time you started to understand it and give back while you've got the time. This is why they're taking me into gyms now, to make sure before the bones collapse that I'm fit and well to last till I'm 130, because I haven't got the time to go up there. I say to Mark, listen, can I give him rollicking? You see, you talk to them. When I'm short of cash, I say, for goodness sake, Mark, will you get the guys out and get some money in the bank? And 3 weeks later, a cheque arrives for 2,000, another one for 5. And I said, now you're trying, for God's sake, you see. And it's that keeps you moving. They're here. They're not gone. If I see a kite in the sky, he's there. But I know that I feel him now, that's saying to me, keep moving, keep pushing, get into the wards, get to those children. When you see a child, what it's brought to me was cystic fibrosis, 10 years old, who became our patient of the year in the Auckland's project, and with a smile of joy and happiness, and how long has he got to live? But what a gift this is to me, to be able to give that child a little bit of joy and discovery of his talent within himself. Yes, for goodness sake, let's be positive about these things. That was their time. You can't change the clock.
Oliver, fantastic to speak to you, as always. One of the most inspirational human beings I think I've ever met. Oliver Speight, the father of the TV presenter from Wolverhampton, Mark Speight, who died 6 years ago yesterday, on the same day that we discovered Peaches Geldof at the age of 25 had lost her life, and Mark setting up that charity, Oliver setting up that charity in Mark's name, Speight of the Art, that does such fabulous work at Heartlands Hospital, a number of schools as well around the West Midlands, bringing art to very disadvantaged youngsters.